Sorry guys if I don't quite have the same amount of energy on this video. My stomach has just been hurting a little bit, so might be trying to keep it a little more low key. With that being... I'm okay. Hello and welcome to another episode of Wally's Convention Crusade. That's kind of gross to just have sitting there. What did they say in Daniel with a magic hand? Meeny, meeny, teakle parson? Well, we'll just say wipey, wipey, cleano, spotto, and then bada bing, bada boom. We'll have, instead of Daniel's magic hand, Wally's magic hand, cleaning that mess up. Hello and welcome. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. We are back looking at some convention videos. We're going to have a laugh, we're going to have some fun, and probably a little bit of cringeworthy stuff coming out of Watchtower. Don't forget to drop a like on this video, please. It really does help it get out to more people on YouTube. Helps the channel a lot. When a video gets lots of likes, it magically gets recommended more to YouTube. So sacrifice, or make your sacrifice to the YouTube algorithm gods and drop a like on the video. Anyway, with all that being said, let's do the thing.
I am so sorry. It's my fault. Please forgive me. No matter how we phrase it, it can be difficult to apologize. Why is that so challenging? There are many reasons. We may fear confrontation, blame, or rejection. Perhaps we feel embarrassed and we're too proud to apologize. We may reason, apologizing will not undo the blunder I've already made. And it may even be that we are angry.
So it is incredible to me to listen to these talks that Watchtower continues to give throughout this convention. And I don't know if it's like this and I just haven't noticed it in other convention that they've had in the past. But this one just seems like they are continuing to hit all of the things that they are notorious for. And now we're right back at it. Now we're talking about apologizing. Oh, apologizing can be so difficult. Oh, apologizing. And maybe people don't want to do it. Watchtower can't talk from a position of authority when it comes to apologizing because they simply don't.
There has to be a confession or two witnesses. So we will never change our scriptural position on that subject.
What about the policies that they have had that have cost human beings their lives?
How we could get him the treatment that he needed, of course, but in no way would we accept a blood transfusion, and neither would Jared. When Jared was in the hospital, Child Protection Services did investigate us. They were concerned there was negligence.
Jared was worried about us, and he made it clear he was going to be fine. He just didn't know if we were going to be.
He died in June of 1992. He was at home, and the last thing he said to us was, "Work hard so we can all be together again."
What about the double standards that they've had that have cost human beings their livelihood and lives? I made a whole video on the Mexico and Malawi sort of like, not really scandal, I don't even want to call it, but the horror that is Watchtower's varying policy between different countries within their organization. So I just find it really fascinating at how completely unaware they are that they fit into the box that they're trying to counsel. So when they're putting witnesses in these little boxes and saying, well, here's the things you need to improve in, Watchtower fits into every single one of them.
And that's the way you do it. It's like in a box.
This is such a matter of concern that in July 2000, the California State Legislature in the United States passed a bill designed to relieve people of liability if they express sympathy to an individual who was injured in an accident in which they themselves were involved. It was noted that people often hesitate to extend an apology out of concern that it could be construed in court as an admission of guilt.
And this is something Watchtower, again, is all too familiar with. They will refuse to apologize or acknowledge that they've done anything wrong, even in a court case, because they don't want to be seen as guilty of it. They'll go even farther in court cases. They will refuse to hand over crucial documents after they've been ordered to by a court, to the sum of being willing to pay millions of dollars for not wanting to give evidence and essentially being held in contempt of court.
Story this evening, reaction right now from the National Organization for Jehovah Witnesses after it was ordered to pay $13.5 million to a San Diego man who says he was a child by his Bible teacher.
And it reflects $10.5 million in punitive damages. Damages that reflect the reprehensible conduct of the Watchtower and how they covered this up for years and allowed multiple children to be injured.
It's so ridiculous to me that they would even specifically bring up the California state legislator. And the surprising thing to me about this is I would have to assume that this guy knows all about that. You don't climb to his rank within the Watchtower organization without having intimate details about all of the shenanigans that Watchtower is willing to engage in order to not answer for their crimes against humanity when it comes to a fundamental thing that every organization has to have at the top of the priority list: protecting children.
The Bible provides an account of a faithful servant, the Apostle Paul, who was a good example of one who apologized. The account is in the book of Acts, chapter 23. The setting: a Roman military officer wanted to know why Paul was being accused by the Jews. So he brought Paul to the Jewish chief priests and commanded the Sanhedrin, the high court, to assemble. As we read Acts chapter 23, verses 1 through 5 together, we can't help but be impressed by Paul's boldness as he stands for what is right. But at the same time, please take note of his humility.
And when governing body members are asked to appear before the secular authorities, what do we find? Do we find the same humility and boldness? Or do we find them backtracking on the things that they've said and not really wanting to answer for the things that come out of their mouth?
And do you see yourselves as Jehovah God's spokespeople on earth?
That, I think, would seem to be quite presumptuous to say that we are the only spokesperson that God is using.
And would you disagree then with anyone who said that the efforts to highlight and deal with child sexual abuse in the Jehovah's Witness Church is engaging in apostate lies?
I guess that's a broad question because...
Example, think about the apostate-driven lies and dishonesties that Jehovah's organization is permissive toward. I mean, that is ridiculous, isn't it?
When the governing body members are called before the secular authorities, do they share the same boldness? Do they stand up for the things that they preach? Do they have the same zeal yet humility that Paul showed?
In the following dramatization, we will see an older sister applying the inspired words of Titus chapter 2, verses 3 through 5, in order to advise younger sisters to be sound in mind. We will also observe how one of the younger sisters avoids further problems and pursues peace by humbly apologizing.
Yes, our favorite triage of Pioneer Sisters is back once again, and it is the moment we've been waiting for. We are going to see how Watchtower turns the tables and makes Emily, the absolute obsessive lunatic, come out to be the good guy here, and Haley, the person who's just trying to live her life, out to be this spiteful, mean, arrogant person. Yeehaw.
I don't know how this happened. But Haley, I'm sorry. It hurts me to see you so upset.
I can't believe you two.
First, what you heard was not what I said.
Well, I thought that's how you felt. And even if I got that part wrong, all this drama...
Now stop. Come on, girls. Hayley, come closer.
Come on, girls, there. Let's just keep going with our pioneer work. Oh, my Lord, it's just so exhausting. Like, if Emily doesn't want to apologize and she's like, but still, I would have just gotten up and left the room. Like, if you're not ready to apologize to me, you're the one that's the cause of all of this drama that we're artificially stirring up. You are the cause of it, so you can suck my ass until you're ready to actually come with a genuine apology. And then at that point, I might say, okay, cool, whatever. But I don't want to be your friend.
Love is patient and kind. It's not jealous. It doesn't become provoked, even when things become difficult. So what are we going to do?
I just thought that... No. I'm sorry, Haley. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have judged you so harshly. I shouldn't have judged you at all. And I'm sorry for dragging you into this by twisting what you said.
It's okay. Things happen. I've been on both ends.
I should never have spoken that way to you, Celia. I mean, to either of you. Got to get home to Nan.
I'll call you tomorrow.
Bye.
Good for Haley for standing up for herself, because this was an insufficient apology. She's like, I'm sorry I shouldn't have judged you so harshly. Actually, I shouldn't have judged you at all. And sorry for twisting your words. Okay, so what are you going to do to fix this? Because you've been obviously talking about it with other people in the congregation, and it's been spreading around. Are you going to apologize for your gossiping? Are you going to tell them that, hey, these things I said weren't exactly true? Are you going to do any of that sort of damage control and humble yourself before those other people? Or are you just going to expect me to humble myself to accept your bullshit apology? No thanks, I'm cool off of all of that. I'll see you never.
And I'm not your bra.
That means our determined effort is not to win an argument, which could be contentious. Nor do we want to start a discussion with the primary thought being that we are in the right. That could mean that we are self-concerned or egotistical. Rather, in harmony with the principle of that scripture, we want to act with humility. Our aim should be to pursue peace. Even if we think the other person is being unreasonable, we apologize.
Cue the dramatic lighting, and let's talk about this bozo and what he says here. This situation that we just watched was a situation where someone was clearly in the wrong. So you're not getting into an argument with them if you're like, hey, these are the reasons why what you were saying and what you did is hurtful, not only to my feelings, but to my business as well. Like, do you at least acknowledge any of that? And there's nothing wrong with that. And getting into a discussion, even though you know you are right, or you think you're right, is totally fine. Because if you are wrong, that's when, okay, now that we've had the discussion, we've had the debate, we've talked about it, and now I realize I was wrong after all, or I wasn't as right as I thought I was, and there's some middle ground here. Now you can humble yourself and say, okay, well, at least now I understand your point of view. This idea of, well, just don't even get into the argument. It would be self-concerned to even get into it with someone. So just humble yourself and don't talk about it is such an unhealthy way to live your life. Talking about things, having good communication with the people that surround you is one of the most important things for a healthy lifestyle. And the more you just bury everything down and just push it, it just one day and is absolutely going to explode. So no one listen to Mr. Ralph here. He's talking a bunch of nonsense.
What does Jesus say is more important than offering up a sacrifice? First, make peace with your brother. Then, when you have come back, offer up your gift.
So I kid you not, I was able to take 7 minutes of his talk, and literally it's just this point that he's making. A scripture we're all very familiar with, where Jesus says, go, and you know the scripture, he just quoted it there. And he just stretched it, kept saying the same thing over and over and over again. So I cut all of that out. But the thing I wanted to point out when it comes to that illustration that he used about offering up your gift or reconciling with your brother before offering your gift is part of me always thinks about like my family members when it comes to shunning and how they refuse to even listen to any of the points that I have to make with regard to the organization or the Bible or logic or history. Nothing. They absolutely stick their fingers in their ears like children. And yet they're still comfortable going out and preaching to other people. And I had this conversation with my mom and dad one time, and I asked them how they're able to sleep at night, spending 70 hours a month trying to bring other people that have no connection to them in their pioneering. And yet they won't even spend 1 hour with me and talk about these things. And giving them all the verses that talk about this very thing, about how it's important to treat the ones that are in the flock, because I'm still an active Jehovah's Witness at this point. And yet they just want to refuse to hear anything at all.
When two humans are at odds, there may be a measure of blame on both sides, since both are imperfect and prone to error. This usually calls for mutual concessions, even if only the one apologizing is right. The issue is not so much who is right and who is wrong, but who will take the initiative to make peace.
Oh no, the lights went out. Well, I guess you can take this moment to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel while I work on getting them back on. Alright, now that all that's taken care of, this is just wrong. Like, it does matter who's wrong and who's right, because you need to be able to establish blame in certain situations. And yes, a lot of times there is a little bit on one side and a little bit on the other. That's very true. But establishing the facts, and that way everything is clear, will help to resolve any lingering feelings that you might have. And as we see in this as we saw in the dramatization, when you have this half-assed apology and you don't actually talk about things and discuss them appropriately, it's going to lead to this, well, now I have these lingering feelings. Okay, yeah, whatever, fine. It's when I'm sorry I yelled at you guys, whatever.
When the Apostle Paul heard that the Christians in Corinth were taking fellow servants of God to secular courts over personal differences, he said, "Why do you not rather let yourself be wronged? Why do you not rather let yourself be defrauded?" The principle is clear. Peace among fellow believers is more important than proving who is right and who is wrong. Keeping this in mind makes it easier to apologize for a wrong that someone thinks we've committed against him or her, a heartfelt apology can open the way to a constructive conversation. It can minimize problems and restore peace.
We haven't heard from our friend Don't Take Your Brother to Court in quite some time. I can't stand this mentality within the Jehovah's Witness organization, and it leads to horrible injustices, especially with regard to CSA. This concept that you can't take your brother to court is truly horrifying.
I'll sue ya. I'll take all your money.
Because if someone is doing something that is wrong, if someone is doing something that endangers other human beings' lives, why are we just going to just sit back and say, well, we don't really want to take our brother to court, and Jehovah's going to fix everything in the paradise anyway? You are speedrunning mental health disorders. Like, you are absolutely endangering the future lives of people by not getting the help they need, by not getting the closure that they might need, by not being able to see justice done against an injustice that happened or was perpetrated against them. Truly despicable, and I hate to hear it here.
It's a simple fact that to be at peace with others, we must be willing to forgive. Please notice two examples. A father and his teenage daughter didn't get along. Minor disagreements often developed into shouting matches. Finally, the tension got so bad that the daughter was asked to leave the house. Eventually, she recognized that she was at fault and asked for her father's forgiveness. But instead of overlooking her mistakes, her father rejected her efforts. He was unwilling to extend forgiveness to his own daughter.
This sounds like something I've heard before, a teenage girl getting kicked out of the house because of her hyper-religious Jehovah's Witness father. And then the girl gets kicked out, has nowhere to go, struggles because she's still so young and just being thrust into the world, but is not believing in what the Jehovah's Witnesses teach because it's a bunch of nonsense. And the only recourse she has is to grovel back to her parents and just hope that they'll accept her back, even though she knows that the religion is still untrue. He's literally opened this talk by describing one of the worst situations young people find themselves in very often. They realize, one way or another, that the Jehovah's Witness doctrine and religion is just wrong. And yet they still live at home with their parents, and now they're at a crossroads. And what he's described is so horrible and sad, and it has some really bad consequences for those that aren't able to land on their feet at all.
What was the result of Job's integrity and his forgiving spirit? Verse 10. After Job had prayed for his companions, Jehovah removed Job's tribulation and restored his prosperity. Jehovah gave him double what he had before. The account goes on to say that Job had 10 more children, he lived for 140 more years, and verse 17 states, finally Job died after a long and satisfying life.
Yes, another classic example from Watchtower just being completely clueless on giving people actually good advice, because what we have here is them pulling out a scripture in the Bible that's like, speaking of forgiveness, and Job, he was a good man, and he even prayed that the other people, should get forgiveness from Jehovah even for the bad things that they did. And Jehovah blessed him with 10 more children, double his assets, and another 140 years to live his life. Well, man, I mean, if it's that good, hey, we should just be forgiving anybody, because Jehovah can just immediately escalate us to the 1%. He can immediately give us the cure to all diseases, at least for the next 140 years, and you're living a pretty good life, I'd have to say. How is this supposed to help people? How is this example going to actually benefit anyone? Hey, be like Job and forgive. Yes, I know you're just going to have to continue to deal with these insufferable, nosy people like Emily till you die. But look at what Job got. He got actual, tangible benefits from the course that he took. And yet, what is Watchtower offering? Well, you can experience Fake happiness. Do you want some fake happiness for your pleasure? I didn't think so. Everyone say hi to Winston. This is dog versus treat cam.
Job was blessed for his forgiving spirit, and he set a good example for us to forgive freely. In the following dramatization with Celia and Haley, notice why Haley finally decides to forgive freely.
Clearly, this is someone that's not setting a good example for the rest of the congregation, because it appeared she was reading a non-Jehovah's Witness book.
It's me. Been thinking of you. Great broadcast. How did you like the new original song? Give us a call.
So now Emily went from being insufferably nosy and obsessive with Haley to being one of the most annoying Jehovah's Witnesses ever. Say, sorry I missed you. Nothing to talk about. What did you think of the new original song? Oh, I'm going crazy right now. I was stripping my clothes off and dancing around the house naked when that broadcast came out. God damn it. Pow.
And so it's one of those truths transform your lives.
I wish you could give it a rest.
Sorry? Oh, nothing.
I'm sorry. It's just Emily for the millionth time.
What's the problem, love?
There's no problem. It's just
Difficult to let her back in. Not that simple.
Not that simple.
You want to forgive,
but not get burned again.
keep in mind, a chance to forgive is a chance to imitate Jehovah. We wouldn't want to miss that opportunity.
Oh yes, the all-forgiving Jehovah, who throughout the Bible killed hundreds of thousands of people. And for some really weird things, even going so far as to send out bears to kill children, innocent little children, so he couldn't grant forgiveness to them.
Hey guys, look at that bald loser. Hey you prophet, get out of here, Baldy. Your head looks like a cue ball. Baldy, 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 baldy. Let's get out of here.
I'm a man of God. I pronounce a curse upon you. Huh? What? Those kids called him bald? Hell no. Hey, Satan, check this out. Hey, you angel, go send some bears to go out and maul them. That'll be pretty funny. Hey, Satan, check this out.
I don't think that's a good idea.
I'm sorry, Celia, but I don't think you are holding a master class in advice here. At every turn, you seem to be a little bit inept and kind of full of yourself. Just because you've been in the organization for a long time or pioneering for a long time doesn't make you qualified to give quality advice. And this is something that Jehovah's Witnesses don't see. They look at the years of service as a direct correlation to the experience and the quality of advice that someone can give, which is simply not the case.
I never thought about it like that.
Think back to a time when you wanted forgiveness. When it meant everything. How did it feel?
Just like Anna does as well. She really
You feel awful.
cares about you.
That you've let everyone down.
You're very precious.
And they forgive you. And suddenly everything's okay. Emily. Sorry I haven't been back to you. Have plans for tomorrow?
Yes, Celia wants to pull at Haley's heartstrings now. Hey, remember the time when you were on the brink of being shunned? Remember when you were almost cast aside like garbage, disposed of and humiliated in front of the entire congregation? Do you remember how grateful you were that you got this forgiveness? I wish they would have actually shown what it was that Haley did in order to need this forgiveness. I'm going to assume it's sexually related because it seems that most of the problems that Jehovah's Witnesses go through when it comes to judicial committees have something to do with stuff below the belt, which would be so infuriating because, again, it's not Haley's fault for wanting to have a natural relationship with another person. It's only Haley's fault if she's a Jehovah's Witness. So it's Watchtower's rules that are making it difficult for her, and she's needing to be forgiven for a natural thing by Watchtower because of Watchtower's rules. And she's undergone this emotional manipulation, which a lot of times if you do survive the experience, you'll come even more hardened in order to be like the most turbo witness ever. And now Celia's going to use this traumatic experience and use it as a way to say, hey, aren't you glad you got forgiven? Don't you think you could pass that along a little bit? I don't really like Celia. I don't really like any. Haley seems to be the real winner here, but I'm sure she'll walk out a loser if Watchtower has anything to say about it.
What good reasoning on the part of Celia. Did you notice the expression that really touched Haley's heart? A chance to forgive is a chance to imitate Jehovah.
This is a load of barnacles.
We wouldn't want to miss that opportunity. So when we've been wronged, we don't want to miss the opportunity to imitate Jehovah by forgiving freely.
I feel like this is another instance where they're covertly talking about things that apostates might bring up, and having this undying willingness to forgive anything and everything is quintessential to being a Jehovah's Witness, because at some point in your life, you will stumble upon some sort of apostate material or accusation, and what do you need to do? Ignore it. Ignore it. Forgive Watchtower for any mistakes that you think they might have made without all the facts, and just keep going and being a Jehovah's Witness.
However, if we feel that we need to talk to our brother or a sister about an offense that was committed against us, what's the best way to handle that? First, we should ask Jehovah in prayer for his guidance. Then, with the brother's good qualities in mind, graciously tell him that we want to make peace. Listen carefully and empathetically. We shouldn't interrupt, even if we don't agree with everything being said. It may be that his viewpoint is wrong, but it is his viewpoint. Then when it's our turn to speak, we want to be gracious. Tell the brother what we appreciate about him. Apologize for any part that we played in the misunderstanding. If our humble efforts result in good, thank Jehovah. If they don't, keep asking Jehovah for guidance while we look for another opportunity to make peace.
Oh yes, the old Watchtower classic. Hey, if things go good, thank Jehovah after you first pray about it. And if things don't go good, then just keep praying about it. So whether or not the prayer actually is answered or there's any measurable result from your actions, just keep at it there, pal. Eventually, it'll work itself out.
Can we imitate Jesus more closely? If so, what will you do the next time an opportunity arises for you to use your gift of speech wisely? In the following dramatization, notice how the wise use of the tongue helps to heal.
Well, Garrett Loesch has managed to say not a single interesting thing in the entirety of his talk so far. So I was listening to it. He's talking about the power of speech and how the tongue is a little thing, but it can have a big consequence. And
what did he say?
He reads a bunch of scriptures. The only thing of note is that his hands are directly at his side, and whenever he reads a scripture, he's reading and just looking directly in front of him. And unlike some of the other speakers, it actually shows it on screen. So I think this is a clear indication that he is using a teleprompter for his talk, where we've seen some of the other brothers look like they're at least going a little bit more extemporaneously, and it really comes through. His talk is mind-numbingly boring and wasn't even worth listening to at 1,000 speed.
What you did with your new stuff, especially this set.
Oh, thanks. You've all given me so many great ideas.
Yeah, but you make them.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Ah, yes. Now Emily is fully on board with it. Totally cool. Looking at her posts, realizes she doesn't have to be a crazy person anymore. She still maintains that she can only wear yellow, but maybe that's just her personal preference. And she's come so far around that she is now offering Haley suggestions on products. And all because she said, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have judged you so harshly." Very realistic scenario.
Oh, this is my song. Mine too. You have a treasured place in Jehovah's house. He will help you out. And you have a Stop.
This made me so happy because it's a direct portal into all of the dudes that work at Bethel, like how their brains work. They come up with these songs that they think are all catchy and cool, and they like to imagine, man, we did a really great thing. Those poor Pioneer sisters, they probably had to listen to worldly music before. But now they can all sing in harmony when they're out in service. Oh my God, this has never happened. If this did happen and someone was like going to start playing a Kingdom Melody, which was really irritating, but if someone did do that, no one would be like jumping in, chomping at the bit, like, yeah, guys, let's get it. It was always dead silence, like, we're really going to listen to this, you weirdo. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad they put that in there. Maybe we should watch it again.
You out. And you have a Stop.
I'll tell you who else thinks it's her song, but you better get your plugs handy. Veronica. Oh my goodness, she's in love with her own voice. Ever sit near her at the hall, like she's the only one that can sing. And
my first thought, oh no, here we go again. I've seen this movie before.
You don't think she's showing off?
Is this just about Haley?
Seems it's all about Haley.
Is there just a little bit of envy in there?
I've lived it.
If it's a case of her being more careful, how she comes across, that's another matter.
What did she suggest?
I should tell her that she needs to stop.
Can you believe that? Especially as a pioneer. What kind of example is she
How quickly it snowballs out of control.
Not what I'm saying at all.
You are such... You that lonely that you've got nothing better to do. Haley?
How difficult it can be to unravel.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have judged you so harshly. I shouldn't have judged you at all.
A chance to forgive is a chance to imitate Jehovah. Think back to a time when you wanted forgiveness.
Has anyone ever tried talking to her about her singing?
You know what I love about Veronica? She's probably the most hospitable person I know. Always open house at her place. And can she cook? Have you tried her curry?
Yeah, I've tried it. It's tried it. I really look forward to that. Yeah. I love that.
Ah, yes, we go from our happy, clappy cat jammies and singing along to some good old Kingdom melodies, and then this new pioneer sister. She's disrupting the peace. Everyone gets the solemn look on their face like, oh no, here we go again. Ah, crap. But no, it's a passing of the guard as Celia has passed on her wisdom, and Haley and Emily, who are now best buds, can have everything go full circle and change the subject and not talk about anyone that sings ridiculous. What's so funny is this is an actual real scenario. Like, if you're out in service, it would happen that if someone is a ridiculously loud singer to where it's just like obnoxious, and people do talk about it. Like, have you ever sat next to them at the Kingdom Hall? It's crazy. That's just a totally normal Jehovah's Witness type of conversation. But no, they can't even have these. Let's talk about how great her curry is. I actually had curry for lunch, so that was kind of interesting.
Curry steps back. Bang!
Again, there's nothing interesting about Garrett Loesch's talk here. It's really just a bunch of hoopla, to be completely honest. So we're just going to skip over all of that and conclude another day of the Convention Crusade. I think this should position us to be one. It depends on what I figure out what to do with that documentary thing, but at least one more day, and maybe we'll incorporate that and this last talk by, it would appear, David Splain on the timeline. So, thank you for joining me for another fun edition of the Convention Crusade, and as always, I will see you tomorrow.